workshops, talks, including business model canvas that we have covered and stuff like that. So happy to be part of a larger community today, because you are the ones who are going to spearhead this in your colleges respectively. Because okay, I want to ask before we start off today's activity, who runs the country? Type it in the chat box, whatever you think first comes to your mind. Who actually runs the economy? How is a country's economy run? Just in one word, in the chat box. I want to see the chats coming. Who runs the economy? Any answer is fine. There's nothing like a right or wrong answer. Okay, I'm not able to see the chats for some reason. I guess you're pouring in with your message, but I'm not able to open the chat box. But anyway, so it's basically the entrepreneurs who keep the businesses ticking, the country's economy ticking. All right. So it's not the banks, it's not the government. It's primarily the entrepreneurs who who are responsible for bringing in the kind of momentum, the kind of revenues that the government and the other entities, the country, derives the benefit out from. All right. So let's start straight into the topic. Okay. You guys might have heard about VUCA, right? Today we are living in a VUCA world. It means V for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, right? So much of volatility because we don't know what the stocks prices have been a month ago, 6 months ago, what's there today, right? So much of volatility. Look at the gold prices, right? It shot up so much, almost 20%. Suddenly it started to crash down by 10-15% in the next 1 week's time, right? There is a lot of uncertainty. Should I do, should I not do? As a company, should I go forward or should I close it down? Complexity, it's not so easy, like how we can take decisions faster, right? You don't have a simple yes, no kind of a scenario. The business situations are fairly very complex, right? Ambiguity, because you don't know what's the right thing to do, right? Because you don't have the experience, or probably whatever the experience and expertise you have, you are not still able to take decisions because you don't have clarity, you don't have the vision or the thought process, which means a lot of ambiguity around. And friends, please understand, startup thrives in the VUCA world. Okay, you see many of the companies coming out very successful in the startup arena, especially when there's a crisis. And there are a lot of companies which close down, all right, especially when there's a crisis, which means there are fundamentals which are wrong, and there are companies which are taking advantage of the situation, which means there's an opportunity that is presented, right, even in times of crisis. And that's what we are talking about. The startup thrives and scales up pretty well in the VUCA world, all right? So we all have been used to seeing some, calligraphy, right? Chinese, Japanese kind of, this is Chinese script, all right? If you read it together, for those who know, it's called Weiji, all right? The first part of the thing right here uses scripts called Wei. The second part is called G. So what does it mean? Does somebody know? Type it in the chat box. If somebody knows, please type it in the chat box. What is Weiji? Okay, we are not here to teach a Chinese session, but today we are all talking about, right, the country in televisions and media, newspapers, right? So it means crisis, all right? This means crisis. But then when you when you take out the script separately, the first script actually means danger, okay? A second script represents opportunity, okay? So wherever there is a crisis, guys, understand there are equal number of opportunities in front of you, right? One door closes, 10 other doors open. 10 doors closes, 40 doors open. All right, so you need to look at how you can build opportunity during these times as well, and you need to be able to spot those opportunities. I'm sure the initial sessions conducted by my fellow friends would have been more in terms of customer identification, discovery, design thinking, and stuff like that, right? It will all help you towards spotting those opportunities, right? Today, we are going to talk about how do we build up and showcase it through the business model. But before that, some insights, right, on startups. 9 out of 10 startups fail. Okay, 90% plus of the companies fail. They don't exist beyond 3 to 5 years period, right? So how do we make sure that we are able to build a scalable, sustainable startup? So we are going to have a session separately tomorrow, which is called how to start a startup. Starting a startup, we call it as. So we will have it separately parked. But one of the most important aspect on that session is going to be a business model canvas, which I'm going to touch upon today. Most importantly, I think Suhas and Daniel might have told you earlier that pitching a startup, right? Pitching your startup, it is not only to get investments, all right? It is not just to get investments from a potential investors who can invest in your company. It is also possible that you can pitch your startup to the banks to get loans, all right? You can also pitch your startup to find co-founders, because people need to know what you do, how you do it, whether it has got potential to scale up. Is there a life if I jump into this company, right? That's why we're talking about the pitch. And for the pitch, there's nothing equivalent to a BMC, the famous business model canvas. All right. So once you finish this business model canvas, you can go talk to somebody and say, in one line, you can say, this is what I need so that I can do this. That should be the message that you will be able to do at the end of the session. Now, we are talking about a business model, right? Which talks about so many parameters. It talks about value prop. I'm sure you would have heard about value prop in one of the sessions earlier. You talk about the customer relationships, the customer journey, the key activities, the segments. How do you target finding the customers in the right segment? Of course, the distribution. How do you take the path to market? And partners, who will you collaborate with, and how do you join hands with in getting the products or selling the products or whatever it is, the key resources, the costs, and finally the revenue. End of the day, the company has to do revenues for it to be successful. All right. So with that, I'm going to straight take you into the session. Okay, I'm going to throw open the entire session in one slide. We are going to talk about this right over the next 45 minutes to 1 hour on this specific chart, this specific model, the famous business model canvas. There are a couple of business model canvas. I like this particular stuff because I always feel a product market fit business model is one of the best to showcase, right? For even you to understand whether your business model is good or it needs to be fine-tuned. Having said that, there are a number of startup companies which have raised investments, and after some time, and I'm not talking about raising investments in small numbers, in millions, and after some time, the company shuts down. Reason? We don't have a proper business model, right? This is one of the reasons that comes up. So, guys, I want you to tell me that you understand each and every aspect of this business model by the end of session. Any doubts, then we can always take it up towards the end, right? Are we ready, set, go? Just type yes, then we'll start this. I would like to hear as many yeses from all of you. Shall we move how to prepare this model? Okay, so I'm not able to again see the chat box, but either way, I guess you are all pouring with your responses in the chat box. Yes, just type yes, yes or just yes, that's fine. All right. So there are various components that we need to look at. Okay, I'm going to take you not in a particular order, but I'll tell you how to prepare towards the end, right? Some simple steps. But I'm going to explain you so many blocks, each and every simple blocks that you actually have in front of you. All right. The first is the problem, the leftmost block. So there are about 9 blocks that we talk about today. All right. Out of the 9 blocks, look at the first one on the left, which is called the problem. What is the problem that you are trying to solve? Number 1, which means there are some issues. You think you have a product, you think you have a service. All right. And you are going to come with a product or a solution to address that specific problem. You need to list it out clearly in definable terms, not superficial. You should be able to state the problem very precise. What is the problem you are trying to solve? Number 1. When you write that, please understand, is this problem big enough or it's a very, very small problem? Most of the companies end up doing a startup because they like doing a startup, without even really understanding whether there is a real need for a product, or probably there is no one who will actually need, or there is no problem that you have imagined to be. So understand that the problem is big enough so that you are able to look at the market opportunity, the sizing of the market. I'm sure you would have been taught about that. So how do you size an opportunity? How do you size a particular product's value as we move forward? Which means the size of the problem should be big enough for you to understand. Today, the biggest problem is, yes, we are in the midst of pandemic. So any vaccine could be the biggest of the problems, biggest of the opportunities, right? So if you see a number of companies jumping in and spending millions of dollars, billions of dollars in trying to create one, so they'll be able to capitalize the opportunity in spite of a crisis. So identifying what the problem is, whether it is a real problem or an imaginary problem, whether you think there's a problem, whether there is a real problem. Number one, is the problem big enough or small for you to even look at it? If it is big, go with it. If it is small, just knock it out. Third, who is your customer? The alternatives of your products or solutions in the marketplace. So you have a product X. Now, are there equivalent products, substitute products, right? So what are all the alternatives that the customers today have? Why will they start to buy your product or use your service is something you need to clearly define in the block one. That's where the whole equation starts. Now, having said that, let's take one step back and you can ask the question, does every time do we need to have a problem to come with a business model, or can I have an innovation? Right? There is probably no problem. If you go back 10 years, okay, little more than a decade, Apple came out with a smartphone. I'm talking about a touch screen phone. Did people ask for it? Did they take a survey? Right? Was that a problem which was sized big enough? Probably not. Nobody asked for a touch phone because it's very difficult to use. I have used a phone which had the touch as well as a keypad. All right, which means you can also look at jumping into a blue ocean. You would have read in the books or in the management theories, there is something called as a red ocean and a blue ocean, right? Red ocean, you have 100 sharks, you are also swimming along one of that. Blue, you create your own charter, create something new, create something of value which people will actually buy, people will love to use it. Okay, we are talking about, we will cover that in the unique value proposition. But most importantly, you will need to also understand that if you're able to give a bigger benefit, then yes, you still have a potential product that can be taken in the marketplace, that the product will find a space in the market. So there should be a big problem, or you need to provide a massive benefit to the customers, right? Or 20 years already போகலாம். We used to go from one place to another place by hiring a cab. Ilya, we book a cab. We say, okay, if it is 4 hours, 40 kilometers and 400 rupees, very flat rate. I'm talking about almost 20 years ago, right? But if I have to go from point A to point B, we never had an option. Venamo, you should only buy that package. நீங்க 1/2 மணி நேரம் யூஸ் பண்ணாலும் சரி 4 மணி நேரம் யூஸ் பண்ணாலும் சரி, you need to have only that particular package to do. Then came the fast tracks and the NTLs of the world. No worries, you want to go from point A to point B, 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers, pay me $100, I'll drop you off. Fantastic. Big boom, company Zoom, massive, became one of the biggest success stories, right? Everybody knows. What happened after that, right? Now you have Uber, Olas of the world. The point here is that if you are creating a bigger benefit to solve a particular problem, or a bigger benefit to give a big experience like that of an Apple iPhone, right? what is the solution that you are trying to provide? Can you write in clear terms that says, yes, this is a solution I'm trying to build. It will have feature A, it will have feature B, it will have feature C. If it's a service or if it's a product, this is the solution, and these are the features of this product or a solution. You should be able to write in the block 2. This solution has to exactly map to the problem that you are talking about. Both should sync up pretty well. Okay, the solution and the problem. Now, if you are looking at services or if you are looking at products, all right, the solution still need to have the alternatives. What are all the alternative solution services that are available? What are all the alternative products that are available? What are the substitute services? What are the substitute products? All should be captured and precisely say whether your customer will need this solution in terms of having the features A, B, C, D, E. What is most important to the customer? List out those features in the solution. Block number 2. Good. Let's go to block number 3. Key metrics. I am trying to cover the left side for a particular reason. Then I will tell you how exactly to prepare it towards the end. Okay, but I want you to understand the 9 blocks pretty well so that you are going to do this block in your colleges, respective colleges, to ensure that startups come out successfully by preparing this business model clearly, right? The third one is the key metrics. What are the metrics that you will be tracking if you are going to start a company? Assuming that you have started, what is that you are going to track? How is the company moving forward? How do you measure your progress? Whether you are doing it well, you are not doing well, or it's going great, or it needs to be seriously relooked whether it really has any stuff in it at all. So what are the key metrics? Okay, key parameters that you will measure the progress of a company, the success of a company, right? That's the most important aspect. Some can be short term, some can be medium term, some can be long term, but you need to list out those metrics to find out how you as a company will measure its movement across multiple phases, multiple stages. Fourth block, the unique value proposition. What do you bring as value to your customers? Okay. What is the one unique selling proposition? We also call it as a USP that you would like to mention, that it is very different, that others actually don't have it. You need to have it. If you don't have, create one. Okay. How will it add value to you as a company? Okay, there are 2 parts. There's a reason to put a line in the center exactly like here. Okay, I'll again explain you towards the end. But I'm trying to say how you will be able to create value for the organization. When I say the organization, the stakeholders, you as a co-founder, somebody might have invested in your company, right? How will it give benefit to them? What is that unique value that you are showcasing to your investors? What is the unique value that you are going to derive by this product or by the solution for your company, for your employees, for your stakeholders? Be very precise and try to note down here. Okay. Then we are talking about the bottom here. Very important. Costs. Every company, you need to spend money, right? The cost structures involved in setting up a company, in running a company. There are fixed costs, there are variable costs. I'm not here to talk about economics and the cash flows and stuff like that. Okay, that's a different session. It'll take hours together. But fundamentally, you need to understand there are multiple parts when you are setting up the company where you will be spending money on. The very first one is, before even starting a company, if you're creating a product, you need to build a prototype and find out whether it works well or not. So there is a money that you're going to invest in creating and building this prototype. Number 1. Number 2, setting up the company, which means you need to register the company. You need to establish your firm, create a name and all that. So there is a small cost going towards that. Third, you will need to create the branding, right? We are going to do all the steps tomorrow, but I'm just giving you some aspects of it. So likewise, there are so many areas. If you're creating a product, then you have so many costs that are going to be listed one after the other. So you need to understand what are the cost structures, how much money that you need to spend in building this company, building this initiative. There are quite a number of people who keep calling me, right? There are calls that keeps coming to us, saying that I am almost finishing the prototype. I don't have money. I need more money to finish the product, and then I need investments to be raised. You could have easily figured out what is it going to cost, build a prototype, because today very rarely people fund ideas. Okay, there have been instances I've seen in the last 7+ years in our startup journey, right? In my ecosystem involvement. 3-4 years ago, you had a lot of companies who were investing in ideas. Today, very, very few people say, revenue, or at least make sure there are traction. Ideally, a revenue-making company, or at least show me traction so that I have confidence that I can put in some more money on it. The value of the company, of course, will vary based upon that. Most importantly, you need to understand how you will manage the cost. You don't need to build a product halfway through it. You don't know what to do with it, and you either shut it down, you again go back to work. Right? So make sure that you know what all costs are going to be involved when you build a company, build an entity. There are so many costs. If you're going to work from home, perfectly fine. If you're going to take a co-working space, yes, you need to spend some money on it. If you're taking up hosting services, you need to pay money for that. So please understand that there are costs involved, and you need to have that money raised beforehand so that you don't end up closing it down or shutting it down midway through the journey. All right. So very, very important. You may have different backgrounds, because I see many of you from so many engineering colleges, few from the arts, and people don't really teach you on the financial aspects of it, right? Barring the management students, right? You need to understand that there are cost implications, and without managing this cost structures, you will not be able to run companies. You can be technically very sound, but if you don't understand how to control the costs, how to plan for it, then it's not going to head successfully, unless until you have another co-founder who actually excels in it. All right. So please understand, you as the company should understand the cost factors before you start off an entity. Now let's come to the right side. The most important factor that we will touch from the rightmost corner, which is basically the customer segments. Who are your customers? Right. I always ask this question in a forum. I get a lot of answers. Right. So whenever there are sessions, whether it's conducted in EDI or whether it is conducted in IT Madras or whether it's a workshop that they conduct outside in a big place, typical answers come. Okay, fine. What do you do, sir? I manufacture product X. Who are your customers? Everybody is a customer. No, everybody cannot be a customer. Okay, who will be a customer? Sir, all companies will buy my product. Will all companies buy your product? No way. Right? Then you need to segment, slice, and say companies in the automotive space, or company in the logistics space, company in the supply chain, right? Company in the healthcare. You need to be very precise and say, these will be my set of customers that I'm going to approach. You might have looked at customer segmentation in one of your earlier sessions, right? How to segment, how to identify who your customers are. That plays a very important role. I'll give an example. I have said the story a number of times, right? I have lost count, maybe 100+. A few years ago, I had a call from one gentleman, right, who called up and said, Mr. Sham, I am referred by person X, and he said you will help me build my brand and my company. So can I talk to you? I said, good. Yeah, I know that person X pretty well. He's a good friend. Please tell me, how can I help you? Then he immediately started to explain, saying that I have a great product. This product has so many features that, so the next 10 minutes, he was explaining me all about his product and his passion with which he built this product and stuff like that. I said, good, fantastic, good, nice to hear that. So what do you want me to do? How do you want me to help? Sir, I want you to take this product to the market, build a brand, and make revenues. Of course, every company wants to make revenues, right? Whether it is Microsoft or us. All right. I said, fine, good, we can help you with. So I have some basic questions. Can I ask you? He says, yes. Tell me, who will be your potential customers? Who is your target audience? Who is likely to buy your product? And he replied, sir, that is what I want you to find, sir. I actually couldn't speak for the next 10 seconds. So I immediately asked him one question. Okay, all right. So how long did you take time to build this particular product? He says about 1.5 years. Okay. How much money did you spend building this product? About 30 lakhs plus. So I was just telling him, if somebody, you have checked with somebody else, or if someone has asked you a question, this particular question, exactly 1.5 years ago, you wouldn't have spent 1.5 years and you wouldn't have spent 30 lakhs of rupees into the product. So you don't build a product and then trying to figure out who do I sell it to. All right, then you're pushing it upside down. You can't walk upside down. All right. Identify who your customers are. Precisely segment it. I'd say my customers will be of this segment, of this size, of this scale of operation, which means 50 employees and above, 100 employees and above, or less than 20 employees, whatever it can be, in a particular place. Don't say whole India. There is no way you will be able to address whole India. Even Amazon cannot address the whole India. It's taken time to address the whole country. All right. It takes years together to build that ecosystem, the machinery, to make sure the product actually reaches every nook and corner. So you can't say I will become a pan-India company at one shot. So you need to understand which all cities you will be able to target and achieve your numbers. So you can say, okay, I will select 10 cities, I will select 40 cities, I will select 2 cities, I'll select one state, and within that some region. So you got to be very precise in your answers. The generic statements don't work. All right, so customer segments say who will be a customer, what will be their demography. That is something you need to be very precise. If you're in B2C, all the more better. Precisely tell. Don't say everybody will buy my product. Say men of this age, women of this age, or anybody between 25 to 35 will take this particular product by this because of this particular reason, and they should be earning X amount of money. Right? You need to have some specifics, otherwise you will not be able to target those audience precisely. You can build a product, you can get a service done, but you won't be able to meet the right customers if you don't know who you are addressing to. All right, so customer segments are very, very crucial. This particular space takes the maximum amount of time in the entire scenario. All right, you need to be able to identify customers. And when I say customers, there are two aspects you need to consider. There are homogeneous customers, there are heterogeneous customers. Okay, which means you are able to identify exactly in groups. So if these guys are targeted, exactly the same thing can be done. Then there are heterogeneous. If these guys buy, then somebody else also will end up buying it. Okay, so you need to ensure that you are able to precisely say how you will be able to understand who your target segments are, and not after forming a company, how am I going to find my customers, right? Most of the places people make mistakes in this particular spot, and I want you to be absolutely precise to know, especially in the colleges when we are talking about, right? Because you don't have an insight towards the outside world yet. So it's always good to take some experts' help to understand how do you fit this model, how do you understand, identify the customer's behavior, customer's journey, customer experience, to find out whether your product will fit well or not. This particular block, the rightmost block, is one of the most important blocks in the entire 9-block business model. All right. Next, we are talking about unfair advantage. What is the kind of unfair advantage that you have? Let us say, for example, unfair advantage of Reliance, right? Because of the reach, right? Anything that can be brought at one shot, they can be able to reach through, right? Unfair advantage of Google. It's virtually like a monopoly in that particular space, or a Microsoft virtual monopoly in some space, right? You don't need to make one, but then you need to have some unfair advantage which is not easily copyable. If it is very easily copyable, then there is a problem. Okay, which means I put up a shop now, and I'm selling some products. Immediately somebody puts up a shop right next door on the corner of the street, buy the same product. Then who's going to survive? Who will survive? Answer is we don't know. Who's able to sell whatever it is? So there is hardly any advantage. There is hardly any differentiation that you have tried to create. So if you say to create this, it is difficult to copy. So you can go for a patent or something like that, or you can build something which is not easy to replicate in a short period of time. And even if they replicate, you already moved forward with some distance. That is called unfair advantage. So please try to understand if you have an unfair advantage. Not every startup may be able to have an unfair advantage, but if you don't have an unfair advantage, it is very difficult to raise investments. Okay, because somebody can very easily just copy and then start off instantly without any hassles. So there has to be some barrier, right? Some deterrence to do that. It can be your passion, your knowledge, your team, the way it is packaged, whatever it can be, but you should be able to showcase that to your potential employees or stakeholders. Stakeholders can be, sometimes you may want to get a co-founder in place, sometimes you want an investor on board, which means you need to be very clear in terms of how do you plan your unfair advantage precisely and able to spell it out. Very important. Next one is channels. Every company needs to make revenues, which means you need to take the product or the service to the marketplace. All right. So the channels are nothing but the path to the market. How do you take your product? How do you take your service into the market? That is called the path. The path can be, if it is a hardware product that you are trying to build, the path could be right from the manufacturing, the logistics. We are talking about dealers. We are talking about distributors. We are talking about retail outlets. That could be a path to market. Or if it is a solution through a cloud and things like that, then yes, you take the channel of online or a physical, meetups and events and stuff like that. Or it could be a digital marketing. I'm sure you covered a couple of days ago, right? The channel can be digital, the online world. Some people take the products through television. Some people take through radio. Some people take through social media. A combination of so many other factors work. So what are the kind of channels that you will want to take to hit the market with your products or your service? List it out. I want to do through this. And the reason to write it is, gentlemen and ladies, please understand that if you don't know how you take your product to the market, your product will always remain with you. பொருளை பண்ணிட்டு அப்படியே வச்சிருப்போம் நம்ம உள்ளுக்குள்ளேயே, கோடவுன்லயே இருக்கும். Or services only you will know, nobody else will know about it, right? So you need to ensure that you understand how to take the product to the marketplace. எப்படி கொண்டு போனா ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் ஒரு சொல்யூஷனை மார்க்கெட்ல கொண்டு போய் சேர்க்கலாம், நம்மளோட இன்டெண்டட் ஆடியன்ஸ்க்கு எப்படி கொண்டு போய் சேர்க்கலாம் அப்படின்னு பார்க்கணும் நம்ம. ஸோ இந்த சேனல்ஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். ஸோ தட் அந்த சேனல்ஸை பொறுத்த மட்டும் இட் இஸ் மிக்ஸ் ஆஃப் மார்க்கெட்டிங் அண்ட் சேல்ஸ் தட் வில் பி இன்வால்வ்ட், ரைட்? பிசைட்ஸ் தி ஆபரேஷன்ஸ், இந்த எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்ஸும் ஃபிட் பண்றது தான் சேனல்ஸ். Operations they will look at how do you manufacture, how do you store it, whatever the industry that you are into, whether an agri industry or a food tech industry or anything else, right? Other from an operation perspective. But reaching it to the customer, that is very, very important. You need to ensure that you understand, I know how to build the product, I also know how to reach my customers. Only then it is complete. Illana completion irukadu. Endha block miss ana kuda, it's a weak link, it will break, it won't work. Okay. Now, I am going to touch upon the right side part of the unique value proposition, the USP. The USP enna panna porom appadina, in the side la customer ku enna benefit. Here I told you how does a company gets benefited by the product, how does the investors or the stakeholders, whoever you call it as, see value in the company. In the half paranga ipo in the right side la paathona, inga this area is you need to showcase value to customers. Okay, I understand from a large company like Amazon, ellarkume theriyum, it's like a common name, right? Household name mariyachu. Massive teams of software development and stuff like that, right? Army of people. Or feature enhance pannom appadina, I understand that you need to justify why should you build this feature. ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் இருக்கு, ஒரு சொல்யூஷன் இருக்கு, அது மேல ஃபீச்சர் பண்ணிட்டே இருப்போம் இல்லையா, என்ஹான்ஸ்மெண்ட் வந்துட்டே இருக்கும். ஸோ அந்த என்ஹான்ஸ்மெண்ட் பண்றதுக்கு why do you need to build the enhancement, why do you need the featureன்றத you should justify through a value proposition. How will it impact the customer, how will it add value to the customer? அதை நீங்க பண்ணி Convince pannatha your project, that particular feature will get approved. Otherwise, it won't get approved. Customer benefit illana and feature varadu market la. So that is what, if such a large company is looking at that, you as a startup neenga பண்ணும்போது you need to ensure இந்த ஃபீச்சர்லாம் பில்ட் பண்ணிருக்கேன் ஆனா எதுக்குனே தெரியாதுன்னு வைக்க கூடாது. இந்த ஃபீச்சர் பண்ணனால this is the benefit that the customers will get. I am having this because it is going to benefit the customers like that. அத precisely சொல்ல தெரியணும் clean up. Anything that is not giving benefit to the customers has no value. You are satisfied that I have created something. Other project எடுத்துக்கலாம், but you cannot build a startup and startup cannot make revenues. All right. So on the USP, be very, very clear in it. And friends, in the block, it decides whether the startup runs, breaks down, stops, closes. This is the spot, which is basically the revenue streams. Any company should have revenues in it. Okay. How do you build revenues? Sell a product, sell a service, charge them. என்ன பிரைஸ்ல கொடுத்தா ப்ராடக்ட் வாங்குவாங்க? You should know that. You can't overprice, you can't underprice. Overprice பண்ண என்ன ஆகும்? You will lose out to competition if you can't justify the price. Undersell பண்ண என்ன ஆகும்? You won't be able to make profits. Profits பண்ணலனா company cannot run because you have cost 100, selling 80. 20 ரூபாய் எங்க வரும்? How long can you keep putting the money? Unless you are a very, very large MNC like an Amazon or whatever it is, right? The revenues, losses at one point in time, losses will be இவ்வளவு இருக்கும், revenue இவ்வளவு தான் இருக்கும். ஆனா pump in பண்றதுக்கு there are investors because they are looking at market capitalization. They are looking at, that's a different world. Don't get into that. அத பார்த்து don't get misguided. அது வேற game. Okay, அது கம்ப்ளீட்டா வேற game. Please understand, your game is very different. You are a startup. You need to have sound financial model. Revenue பண்றதுக்கு வாய்ப்புகளை கிரியேட் பண்ணணும். Don't just say I will just keep doing it. Somebody will invest. Nobody will invest if you can't showcase a revenue model, proper revenue model. All right. Or you cannot run a company if you don't have a proper revenue model in place. அதனால revenue model becomes very, very important, especially when you are building up an engine. And how long can you keep running? When will the revenue come? அது வரைக்கும் எப்படி ஓட்ட போறோம்? So how much of the cost month on month I'm going to build? So Excel sheet போடுங்க. ரொம்ப simple. You don't need to be a financial analyst or you should have done a BCom or a chartered accountant எல்லாம் பண்ணணும் அவசியம் கிடையாது இது பண்றதுக்கு. இது basic. Create an Excel sheet and say my revenues A, B, C, D, E இந்த source என்ன வரப்போகுது? Month on month split it. Forecasting பண்ணணும் நீங்க. So month X, let's say we are in month September. So September எவ்வளவு, Octoberல November, and then March, June, good quarter on quarter, month on month, break it out. Cost factors, which is very important. எங்கெல்லாம் cost நம்ம spend பண்றோம் அப்படிங்கறத பார்க்கணும் நம்ம. So the cost factor will decide, you will decide what costs are very important. சில cost fixed cost ஆ இருக்கும். Rent, like for example, rent to the office, right? Employees cost will be fixed. But variable இருக்கும் சில componentல. என்ன அப்படின்னா marketing பண்ணலாம். அதுல variable இருக்கலாம். மேல போலாம், கீழ வரலாம். There can be other costs if it is a software product மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா then hosting and other things will be variable depending upon how you use, pay as you use இருக்கு இல்லையா? So அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும். So அந்த மாதிரி you need to understand what are fixed costs, what are variable costs. அத cost factor எழுதணும் நீங்க. இதெல்லாம் தான் cost எனக்கு 1 2 3 4 5 headings and then month on month these are my cost. Month on month these are my revenues. எத்தனை நாளைக்கு நான் ஓட்ட முடியும்? So you find out at what point you achieve a break even. The break even point is very important. அது 10 monthsல வருதா, 24 monthsல வருதா, 36 monthsல வருதாங்கிறதெல்லாம் நீங்க வந்து you should make a precise listing. அப்படின்னா அது வரைக்கும் how do I run my company? Okay, we'll touch upon this point tomorrow also. But I wanted to understand, friends, that in the ரெண்டு aspectum coincide ஆகணும். This cost structure and revenue structure should get married well. நல்லா மெஷப் ஆயிருக்கணும். அப்பதான் you will be able to withstand the turbulence in the marketplace. அப்பதான் you'll be able to build a successful model. That is when you'll be able to take it forward beyond a point. நல்லா போயிட்டு இருக்கும், then you have no money, it will just collapse. அந்த மாதிரி வரக்கூடாது. You should know where you are hitting a trough, where you're hitting a peak. அதுக்கு முன்னாலே you should plan for some funding. It can be loans, bank loans இருக்கலாம். It can be, we call it as bootstrapping, typically your own money you do, and then we call it as 3Fs, right? And like that, we will touch upon tomorrow once again on that. But the point I wanted to make sure is that the cost and the revenues, you should be very clear. Enna mari revenue panna porom, you don't, even if you don't have a precise number, 25,347 la solla vendam, somewhere 20k plus, 25,000, 15,000, 10,000, 1.2 lakhs, whatever you think it is forecastable with reasonable certainty. In the mari irundadna, it's always an assumptions, I agree, because not everything is going to go exactly as per the plan. But வீட்ல இருந்து கிளம்புறோம், வண்டி எடுத்துட்டு, okay, இங்க இருந்து அங்க போறதுக்கு எவ்வளவு டைம் ஆகும்? Okay, from my place house to the office, let's say I say, okay, it will take half an hour, right? Suddenly அன்னைக்கு traffic இருக்காது, I'll reach in 20 minutes. Suddenly ஒரு நாள் traffic இருக்கும், 1 hour ஆகும். So it depends upon, you don't know what you are going to hit, but you should have a plan. So a meeting அப்படின்னா, I should plan another 15 minutes in advance, focusing, okay, probably there can be a traffic, I'm okay to reach early, but I don't want to get late. So அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு assumptions இருக்கணும். So your assumptions also should have some valid base as to why you are taking assumptions. Assumptions weak இருந்ததுன்னா, then your models of cost and revenue is not going to work out well. Okay, so என்ன revenue model? How will you make revenues? If you make revenues by selling a product or taking a subscription services, or what is it? What is the kind of model that you want to follow? It's your choice. You can decide what works best for your kind of a startup based upon the strategy that you will create for your business. Okay, so that's very critical. And if you look at the entire 9 blocks, right? Either in banks, when you go and approach, you create something called as a business plan, B plan, business plan. And the business plan, it will be running into 20 pages, 30 pages, 40 pages. Lowest, smallest I have seen is about 15 pages or whatever it is. By the time you come to 20th page, 5th page, you come to 30th, what is there on 12th page? But look at this beautiful one chart, one sheet. It precisely tells what is the kind of business that you are trying to do. It precisely communicates the clarity of the thought process and vision that you guys have. That is the beauty of the BMC. The business model canvas, எதுக்கு ரொம்ப important சொல்றோம். இப்போ so many people keep pitching. In fact, I've been as a judge, jury for various events. Okay, whether it is government across in the north of Bihar, or whether it is IT Madras, எத்தனையோ pitch events I have sat down as a judge, as a jury. In the model prepare பண்ணும்போது, and the thought process will come out very clear. Okay. We will see the startup founders' thought process coming. The clarity of thoughts come with when this is presented. In fact, அவங்களுக்கே ஒரு thought process கிடைக்கும் இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணும்போது. So it is very essential. It is not about a pilot project or a project work that you do in college. ஏதோ பண்றோம், நானும் prototype பண்றோம், காமிக்கிறோம்ன்றது for experience you can do it. For jobs, for securing a job you can do it. எப்படி training எடுக்கிறோம், ஒரு internship எடுக்கிறோமோ அந்த மாதிரி எடுத்துக்கலாம். But if you are building up a startup, in the 9 blocks போட்டீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும். It will be very, very beneficial for all of you. All right, so don't underestimate this. The power is very, very immense. நீங்க பண்ணினீங்கன்னா தான் உங்களுக்கு இதனோட அருமை தெரியும். Okay, you will be able to appreciate the value of the BMC. It's a beautiful engine. Okay, create it for every one of your startup. Now, having said that, I am going to give you a shortcut how to prepare all of this. I have given you a detailed explanation, okay? But I'm going to tell you exactly எப்படி walk பண்ணலாம், எங்க blockல ஆரம்பிக்கிறது, எங்க முடிக்கிறதுன்னு தெரியலனா, I'm going to tell you how to approach this.
Sir, excuse me.
Okay. Sir. Yes.
Suhas here. Sir, if the students have any doubts, can we ask them to unmute and ask you directly? Like
I will finish the next. That's the last slide. That's the most important. Adukapram we'll have the Q&A.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Another 5 minutes. Bear with me.
Okay. Sure, definitely, sir. There were questions from chat as well.
Definitely. I want more questions because I want to see more entrepreneurs coming up. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the last leg, which is how to do it simply and எங்க ஆரம்பிக்கிறது, எங்க முடிக்கிறது, where to start and where to endங்கிறது சொல்லி தர போறேன். Okay, ready to go? Do you want to know that? Yes, no? Just type in the chat box, yes or no. Do you want to know that? Super. How many yeses? Yes. Super. Excellent. get going. Now I am able to see the chat box. Super. All right. Excellent, guys. Awesome. Okay. Here we go. எதுக்கு இந்த ரெண்டு சார்ட் கொடுத்தேன்னா, left side is for the products, right side is for the market. You remember why I took a different route to show you what it is? இந்த பக்கம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா எல்லாமே ப்ராடக்ட் ரிலேட்டடா இருக்கும், which means it is internal to you, it's for you and your company. உங்களோட சைடு இது, இந்த சைடு. இது வந்து மார்க்கெட் சைடு, how the market sees அப்படிங்கிற ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ல தான் இந்த 9 blocks பில்ட் அப் ஆயிருக்கு. சென்டர்ல ஒரு லைன் வருது பாருங்க, that is exactly the mesh that covers these two aspects. Here we go. Now you can be very clear. Problem என்ன, சொல்யூஷன் என்ன கொடுக்குறோம், எப்படி மெஷர் பண்றோம், காஸ்ட் ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்ஸ் என்ன இருக்கு, வேல்யூ ப்ராப் ஃபார் த கம்பெனி, இது எல்லாமே ப்ராடக்ட் சைட்ல இருக்கும் ஒரு சைட்ல, ரைட்? கோ டு த நெக்ஸ்ட் சைடு, யூ சி கஸ்டமர் செக்மெண்ட்ஸ். யாரு கஸ்டமர்ஸ்? யூ சி அன்ஃபேர் அட்வான்டேஜ். எப்படி மார்க்கெட்ல அந்த அன்ஃபேர் அட்வான்டேஜஸ் ப்ளே பண்ண போறோம், காம்படிஷன் எப்படி பீட் பண்ண போறோம். சேனல்ஸ், how will we take the product to the market, வெளியில அவுட் சைட். வேல்யூ ப்ராப், what is the customer's USP, கஸ்டமருக்கு இந்த ப்ராடக்ட் வாங்கினால என்ன அவங்களுக்கு என்ன பெனிஃபிட், அண்ட் ரெவென்யூ, how will you collect money from the customer, right? இது எல்லாமே beautifully dovetailed into one BMC. It's called a product market fit business model, my favorite model. Now I'm telling you step 1, step 2, 9 steps, and you'll be able to do that. First one, top 3 problems list out. இங்க தான் ஆரம்பிக்கிறோம். என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் சால்வ் பண்றோம், or what is the biggest benefit that you are trying to create, அத நம்ம பார்க்கணும். ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லாத கூட benefit creation, I told you that. Second, single compelling message, why you are different and why is your service or a product worth buying. அந்த யூஎஸ்பி எழுதணும். முதல்ல யூஎஸ்பி எழுதலைன்னா அடுத்த ஸ்டெப் மூவ் பண்ண முடியாது. எதனால வாங்கணும் உங்க பொருளையோ, உங்க சர்வீஸையோ, உங்க ப்ராடக்டையோ, வாட் எவர் இட் இஸ். ஒன் லைன் கிளியர் மெசேஜ் எழுதணும் நீங்க. யூ ஷுட் பி ஏபிள் டு டிஃபைன் இட். டோன்ட் கிவ் a ஸ்டோரி ஆஃப் சம் half ஒரு 2-3 பேராகிராஃப்லாம் எழுதாதீங்க. ஒரு லைன் ப்ரிசைஸா புள்ளி அடிக்கிற மாதிரி யூ ஷுட் பி ஜஸ்ட் ஏபிள் டு ஹிட் இட், புல்ஸ்ஐ மாதிரி அடிக்கணும். ஆல்ரைட். Third, unfair advantage can't be copied or bought. அவ்வளவு ஈஸியா பண்ணிட முடியாது. Of course nothing is impossible, but it is not easy to do it. That is the difference that you have compared to other companies that may actually come in. All right. Target customers, very important. Who are your target customers? Sir, அத தான் கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்ன்ற மாதிரி வரக்கூடாது. You should be able to list out இவங்க தான் எங்க கஸ்டமர் டிஃபைன் பண்ணணும். We covered that. Path to channels, path to customers, the channels. What are the channels that you take to the market? இந்த கஸ்டமர் ரீச் பண்றதுக்கு நான் எப்படிலாம் என்னெல்லாம் சேனல்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ண போறேன், பிசிக்கல் சேல்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ண போறேனா, டிஜிட்டல் மார்க்கெட்டிங் யூஸ் பண்ண போறேனா, இல்ல ஒரு ஷாப் போட்டு அது வழியா செல் பண்ண போறேனா அப்படிங்கறத we should be able to figure it out. டாப் இங்க தான் ஃபீச்சர்ஸே கொண்டு வர போறீங்க. My top 3 features of this product, of the solution என்னது அப்படிங்கறத சொல்யூஷன் கொண்டு வரீங்க. அங்கதான் வருது. Okay. Of course, the key metrics, the activities that you will measure. என்ன activities நம்ம measure பண்ண போறோம் key for successfully running the company. Then, of course, these two are straight, we covered it. Customer acquisition cost, ஒரு customer பிடிக்கணும் எவ்வளவு காஸ்டா போகுது நமக்கு. Distribution cost, if it is online, hosting, people, team, infrastructure, all of that. And yes, the revenue model. உங்க revenue model என்ன? Lifetime value இருக்கு ஒரு கஸ்டமருக்கு, அது எப்படி கிரியேட் பண்ண போறோம். அப்புறம் gross margin என்ன, எவ்வளவு எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றோம், 20%, 10%, 40%, whatever the gross margin that we are talking about, and minus everything else, the net கையில எவ்வளவு நிக்கும். So அதெல்லாம் you should be able to do that. So that is where we have completed the full cycle of the 9 blocks, right? இது வந்து I do as a 1-day workshop complete. Now we are packaging into a 1-hour session. Okay, precisely we have just crossed about an hour. So exactly 1 hour rather. So 1 hour la a 1 day's material has been pumped into your minds. All right. But இது பண்ணும்போது it takes time. And usually in the workshop I give them 3 hours to create it. அவங்க own ஐடியாவை கிரியேட் பண்ணுவாங்க. சில பேருக்கு ஐடியாவே இல்லைன்னா I give them an idea and I ask them to create one. Right? கிரியேட் பண்ணுவாங்க. பட் அதுவே வந்து ஒரு 2 ஹவர்ஸ்ல வந்து ஒரு மாதிரி பண்ணிடுவாங்க. But typically it takes days together to build this business model. It's not easy. பார்க்க ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா இருக்கும். But when you sit on it, at one shotல பண்ண முடியாது. Multiple rounds discuss பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கும், கிரியேட் பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கும், ரிசர்ச் பண்ணணும். So you will do all of that activity. But gentlemen, ladies, this is very, very interesting to create. And friends, you will really enjoy, doing this kind of a business model. Whether or not you want to raise investments, whether or not you do for your own benefit, whether you are finding the right product and you want to create a company on your own. So this will help you set the footing very strong. base on the stronger when you take a leap. And the base strong part of the we are talking about this. So with that, I've come to the end of the sessions. I want more people to actually ask me some questions and let me know. Of course, I help build businesses, startups, mentor, I guide them, advisory, I do digital marketing and all of that. So happy to help you guys. So I'm open to questions. Like Suhas says, yes, now I opened it. So how do you want to do that? Do you want to unmute one by one? You want to do a chat box? I leave it to you guys. I'm all there.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
This is Tarun. You have shared your business model now, sir. So can you give us a case study on it so we can get even more insight on it? Any one simple case study?
We don't have a case study prepared and shown, okay? Because you will need to create it by yourself. This is best to be created. How to create it is already done, right? You need to create your own business model with your own idea and your own project in mind, right? How to create the case study is basically how somebody else's point is created. Obviously, I won't be able to share the case studies of the advisory companies that I do or I mentor because it's specific to them, right? It's internal. It's not for a showcase to everybody else. But if you Google case studies of Uber, it is available. Okay, it is available openly in the net, so you can actually pick that up. But that's not the way you look at it because things have changed. There are a lot of dynamics. So in today's context, if you want to create it, you should create it by your own. And how to create it is already given to you. The recipe is given, the materials are given. You just have to just do it at your end.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have doubts, I certainly can help you, fix those gaps. It might look simple towards the end, but when you actually do it, you will end up getting some doubts, which is bound to happen. Even experienced professionals find it difficult to create the model fully, right? So they keep approaching. There are people who have created companies. They keep asking. I go as an advisory and then help them find out the right model to figure out what could be done right and things like that. But this is only a starting step. இது வந்து ஒரு பிள்ளையார் சொல்லி போற மாதிரி just starting. Okay, அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் கேமே விளையாட போறோம். பட் இது விளையாடாம வெளியில போக முடியாது. We can't create a prototype even. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure, please.
Sir, also sorry, but also, is there any way to like ask you a doubt, or is there any way to connect with you?
Yeah, good question. So I have one more slide right here. Yeah, will that help? You
sure,
can,
sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I will display tomorrow also, but please make a note. You can take a pic or you can note it down. So either through website or through mobile. I'm available through WhatsApp and email. So I mean, even beyond today, tomorrow, if you have specific doubts or something, feel free to always come back. Happy to help you guys and create more successful entrepreneurship ventures.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I have a small doubt, sir, and a request as well.
Yes,
and,
yes.
So since Tarun has mentioned that particular case study could be discussed to understand it better, can we try it for like Swiggy or something like that to explain the students that something that is relatable to them, and we can try to explain it to them, right, sir?
See, these
blocks
case studies are available in plenty in the market. I mean, if you just Google, you will have case studies of Uber. I told you already, Uber case studies are there. Airbnb case study. I mean, so many are available. But then we already given that. You don't need to look at it because that's little, it will be little different, and the ecosystems are little different. Okay. How to create it is already shared here. It's very simple because it should be dovetailed for each and every specific startup. But you don't need to spend time and do that. It is all available there online. Okay. You Google these case studies available right in front of you. So now you have seen it. You can actually go through. It's available free, right, in the marketplace, right? You can just go through. You can understand what it is. So that's not. You don't need to have a session for creating an already existing case study. But how to prepare is more important because otherwise it looks easy. But when you actually go dive, it's very difficult. So I'm trying to teach how to create what is the right way to do the model. So. Yeah,
exactly, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Yes, go ahead. I would like to have more questions coming up. Yeah, keep flowing. Okay, somebody has asked questions. I'm able to see the chat box since I have closed this. From Harini, she says, hello, sir. You talked about target customers for our product, and I have a question on that. If we choose a healthcare product, say some medicine or vaccine or something like that, who will be considered as a target customer? So can we be more precise? Say, for example, what is the product, first of all? And the product என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சாதான் we'll be able to understand who will be a target customer. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say we have a product which will make people look young and things like that. Okay, and that it's available, of course, the marketplace. So let's say there's a pill. Okay, and then you have tested and you have got the approvals. The assumption is you have tested it and you have got the required approvals from the government to sell it, right? அது பண்ணியாச்சு. அதுக்கு முன்னாடி you have done a research whether people will buy at what cost and things like that, because there is always a crowd for these kind of things, right? Now, assuming that you have to reach, how will you reach? You have created a product. There are multiple ways you can reach the products. One, you act like a company which will provide you services, which means you make people come, you give a treatment, right? Let's say a skincare treatment or whatever, age beauty treatment, whatever you call it as. Which பண்ணலாம். And if you want to scale up, you can scale up through a branches, your own outlets being spread out, or building a franchisee model around that, right? You create a few centers, show that the model is successful and working, then expand the model to the next level in terms of pan India or global through franchisee network. Adu pannalam namba, partnership and franchisees. Illena, you can simply act like a manufacturer and provide these products, solutions directly to people who actually need it, which means other clinics and other hospitals, anyone else can actually buy it and give it to their customers. So multiple models can work. Okay, I'm giving you straightforward answers that there are different channels that can work, but உங்களுக்கு என்ன ஒர்க் ஆகுங்கிறது வந்து you will be able to find out what it is, right? I hope I answered your question. If I have to go deeper, who we consider a target as customer? In the first case, the target customers will be, let's say you will say who will like to do this. So probably people at 35 to 55 will be more beauty conscious, more wanting to spend, or 60, whatever it is, right? And maybe you will be able to say, okay, they will be having this financial outflow for them to buy. So they should have an expensive phone to have it, or they should have a different lifestyle that they'll be able to, you will be targeting them so that they are able to afford these products. Maybe each product will cost you 1,000 rupees a day. So அப்படின்னா அதை அஃபோர்ட் பண்ற மாதிரி யார் இருப்பாங்க? So அந்த மாதிரி segment you should be able to, high income segment, cities ல இருப்பாங்க. So அந்த மாதிரி you should be able to target your specific customers. I hope I clarified, but if you need any clarification, you can also chat or you can unmute yourself, raise a hand. Did I clarify, Harini? Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay. Yes, let's go with the others. Yeah, we can have other questions.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Sir, do all these 9 blocks in business compulsorily needed for long-term success? Like, because as time goes, the product may outdate. So how can the long-term success be shown here?
Okay, so the 9 blocks, good question, very good. So the 9 blocks are absolutely mandatory for every company, any company that is trying to, for any startup. Basically, as I said, முதல்லே தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம், before even before creating a product, why are we creating a product? Okay, I like a product, I created. அப்படிங்கிறது இல்லாம, I clearly know there is a market need and I can build it and I can deliver it and I can make money on it. In the எல்லா 9 blocks இருந்தா தான் you can build a successful startup. First point. Second point, you have actually asked 2 different questions. I'm actually trying to split that. You beautifully asked for a long-term success of a project. Beautiful question. Okay, most people look at short-term. So appreciate your viewpoint in terms of thinking long-term. Brilliant. So long-term பண்ணும்போது என்ன ஆகும்? Let's imagine the same example. Let's look back the example I told you, right? We had a travel agents, okay, or people who rent cars and things like that. Car travel agents or whatever it is, car agents. Now you got into Uber, you got into fast tracks, NTLs of the world and things like that. But now the industry has moved forward, which means if you don't adapt yourself, then your company, your product may not survive. So adaptation should be the key. So ennachu, you still were able to call and get the taxis to go from point A to point B. Nariya tharava, I was almost about to miss my flight. Okay, phone பண்ணி book பண்ணிடுவோம். எங்க இருக்கீங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டா, சார் வந்துட்டே இருக்கோம் சார், 5 நிமிஷம், வந்துட்டே இருக்கேன் சார் 2 நிமிஷம், 20 minutes ஆடும், எங்க இருந்தா வந்துட்டே இருக்கேன் சார் 2 நிமிஷம். So this is what which used to happen. And after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, கால் எடுக்க மாட்டாங்க. ஃபோன் பண்ணா, ஓ அப்படியா சார் எடுக்கலையா, நான் வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க சார், நாங்க வேற காரை புக் பண்றோம். I mean, it was a one hellish torture which I think many of us would have faced. I have faced also, right? I'm talking about a decade ago. It became a pain at some point in time. After the technology came into to support the initiative, which is nothing but the Uber, Olas today that we are used to. Advantages for a customer, I exactly know where they are. அதுக்கு முன்னால என்ன பண்ணுவேன், சார் 5 நிமிஷம்னா ஓகே, இப்போ எக்ஸாக்ட்டா எங்க இருக்கீங்க, what is the building you are seeing, what is the board advertisement you are seeing னு கேட்பேன். I ask them the question, precise questions. நானா சார், நான் இங்க இருக்கேன், அந்த பில்லர் கிட்ட இருக்கேன். Okay, I know another 20 minutes it will take. It is not 2 minutes. So I know whether to depend on him or cancel or take an auto and go. I have gone in an auto to airport. Okay, வெளியில நிறுத்திடுவாங்க. You have to go inside. So because otherwise I will miss a flight. Then so much of my other meetings are scheduled in accordance with that. So miss பண்ண முடியாது. So there are serious issues. So in the transparency vandanaala benefit to the customer, I exactly know where they are. If there's a problem, I know. If it is cancelled instantly, I know. I don't need to call after 20 minutes to find out it's cancelled. So and the mari or system got created. If companies have moved already to provide the transparency, maybe it would have become more difficult for us to enter into the market and play the game like this today. Yeah, maybe they could have bought over as வேற விஷயம், but the company wouldn't have suffered so badly, right? Which was built very well. So அதனால எப்படி நம்ம ஆரம்பிக்கிறோம்ங்கிறது பொறுத்து இல்ல, how do we sustain the interest? இன்னைக்கு இருக்கிற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் நாளைக்கு இருக்காது. Okay, consumer interest and customers requirements will keep changing from time to time. And the market sensitivity pick பண்ணலைன்னா, it is very difficult to fine tune and adapt பண்ணலைன்னா companies will not exist. So for long term survival of the company, you should be in touch with the marketplace to ensure, maybe this is one point I will cover tomorrow, beautiful point, I will try to cover that tomorrow also, to ensure that the companies are scalable and sustainable in the long term. Sure, good question. One more question has come from Ranjani. She says, good evening, sir. So our product is like a thing which could be implemented throughout the city. Example, smart lamp post. To whom and how should we approach first? So smart lamp post அப்படின்னா வந்து first யாரு customer? Government தான். நீங்க பாட்டு post போட முடியாது. So you will have to approach the government, because doing a project through government has its own pluses and minus. Okay, there could be red tape, bureaucracy, reach பண்றதுக்கே difficult இருக்கலாம், systems, procedures, அந்த challenges எல்லாம் இருக்கலாம், right? So startup இருக்கிற மட்டும் unless until you are part of a smart city project, right, அதுல bid பண்ணி நீங்க உள்ள போலாம் டைரக்டா. இல்லைன்னா you can partner with some company which you can be a part of and provide this kind of solutions, right? But I would say startup perspective, predominantly other than those specific interests, time duration could be very long. It can be very killing for people, most of the people. So direct customers, companies where you have better control on things. So customer pudicha, yes, கொண்டவங்க எவ்வளவு என்ன business என்ன deal சொல்லி டக்குன்னு முடிச்சிடலாம். But when you go for something like a government and things like that, you should be prepared to wait for such a long time, and sometimes it may not materialize. So அதனால the risk factors are extremely high. So அதுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி பண்ணோம். But to answer your question, I think you should probably go with the government, or if you have a fantastic approach, I said smart project involvement entities ஓட நீங்க பண்ணலாம். Third, some NGOs ஓட பண்ணலாம், non-governmental organizations who can actually sponsor your project. அந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா, who can take it, tie up along with the government and get it done for you. அந்த மாதிரி multiple aspects you will be able to spearhead your initiative, Ranjani. Yes. Yeah, go to the next question. Nice. Great. Any other questions? Either a chat box or you can have somebody ask you, unmute and do that. As a beginner entrepreneurship, okay, this is from Hari Prasad. Okay, good evening, sir. As a beginner in entrepreneurship, I only know about government funds. And my question is to how to approach the angel investor, NGOs, etc. Know about government funds. Okay, so EDL, they would have told you about needs in certain programs. So that's what I think that's what you are saying here, that you understand all that. How to approach an angel investor, NGOs. See, NGOs in Solamoda, there are many NGOs available. Like, for example, CII, Confederation of Indian Industry. We have been ecosystem partners for startuppreneurs. Adhe madri, I am also part of Rotary. So Rotary International, Rotary clubs are available. So you can contact specific Rotarians, if you have to pitch it to Rotary, அவங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது பெனிஃபிட் இருக்கான்னு பார்க்கலாம். பிகாஸ் த்ரூ ரோட்டரி நாங்களும் நிறைய வி சப்போர்ட் அ லாட் ஆஃப் காசஸ். அந்த மாதிரி காஸ்க்கு ஏதாவது ஜாயிண்ட் பூலிங் பண்ணி ஃபண்ட் பண்ணலான்ற ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸும் இருக்கு. நிறைய என்ஜிஓஸ் அவைலபிள். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் மெலிண்டா பில் கேட்ஸ் ஃபவுண்டேஷன்லாம் இருக்கு இல்லையா? ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி அசோகா ஃபவுண்டேஷன், so many foundations are available. There's no dearth of foundations. Premji, Azim Premji இது இருக்கு. Tons of them. So, but you need to do a research and then mail it to them to find out whether they can support you. அது வந்து NGO initiative. It's a social enterprise. Usually people will take a look at it, right? Number one. Number two, approaching the angel investor. It is a separate session by itself, right? About a couple of weeks back, I did 2 back-to-back sessions for EDI in terms of funding. Funding na enna, angel investor na enna, VC na enna, PE na enna, Series A, B, C la சொல்றாங்க. எப்படி பண்ணணும், என்ன பண்றது பத்தி ஒரு massive, it's a session by itself. It takes about 1.5 hours. But quickly to tell you, angel investors are none other than people who have some money and who are ready to take a risk and believe in your idea and invest in your idea. சரியா? So அவங்க யார் இருப்பாங்கன்னா, it will be HNIs. Okay, high net worth individuals சொல்லுவோம். And high net worth individuals வந்து people who could be working, they can be CEO of companies, or they could be business owners, right? They will have excess, they have a lot of money, right? Or 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 40 lakhs, it may not be a big deal for them. So அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய இருக்கு. So அந்த மாதிரி individuals you can target with your connections and contacts, and you can do that. Second, you have networks. Okay, lot of angel networks are available. But Chennai நடந்தா Chennai angels, okay, இருக்கு. அதே மாதிரி பெங்களூர் ஏஞ்சல்ஸ், மும்பை ஏஞ்சல்ஸ், ஹைதராபாத் ஏஞ்சல்ஸ் சொல்லிட்டு there are a lot of angel networks இருக்கு. இந்தியன் ஏஞ்சல் நெட்வொர்க் இருக்கு, ஐஏன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய ஏஞ்சல் நெட்வொர்க்ஸ் அவைலபிள். அண்ட் சீட் ஃபண்டிங் கொடுக்கலாம், யூனிட் சீட் ஃபண்ட் சொல்லிட்டு சின்ன சின்ன funds are also available, to the tune of 10 lakhs to 1 crore can be raised, right? Or 1 lakh to 10 crores, 1 crore can be raised very easily through angel and seed funding, right? In the initial stage at the startup phase la kondu polam. So you need to approach those entities. In fact, pitch decks nariya varum. In fact, IT Madras le வந்து the last pitch that we did, so few of the junior members, so I was there, Mr. Chandran of CEO of Chennai Angels was there. So அந்த மாதிரி அந்த ஸ்டார்ட்அப் அந்த ஐடியாலே இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ்ல we were doing as a jury, we were evaluating the pitch, the finals, right? The startup finals la அப்படி கூட நீங்க pitch sessionல நீங்க வந்து ஆர்கனைஸ் பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணலாம், pitch பண்ணலாம். இன்ட்ரெஸ்டடா இருந்தா people will probably take it forward to that. There are platforms like the Talk Big Ideas. We are again knowledge partners. We help select the award winners for women entrepreneurs, small medium business entrepreneurs, startup founders, startup winners. Anga kuda there are pitch sessions that was conducted sometime ago in Coimbatore. Separate pitch session. Anga vandu pitch பண்ணவங்களுக்கு they were, some of the shortlisted startups were taken separate discussions, further tractions, which they can get possibly investment money raise பண்ணலாம் get there. So there are multiple ways to do that. Srikanth question is, hi sir, what are the major points to be addressed while pitching? So points to be so pitching அப்படின்றபோது யாருக்கு pitch பண்றோம்ன்றது இருக்கு. Okay, I don't know what is the where are you pitching பொறுத்து இருக்கு. So I don't know the question exactly. So if you can sure, thanks Hari. So Srikanth, can you tell me in the pitching போது எந்த யாருக்கு pitch? Are you talking about investor pitch? Are you talking about a pitch for an event or for winning a prize? I don't know, but anyway, I'll tell you for both. For investors, okay, very good. So investor pitch na sonna mari business model canvas. It's the best pitch that you can actually create, right? Page and the points address பண்ணனும்னா ரொம்ப simple. Whether you are addressing a problem, if yes, how big is the problem, and whether you are competent to provide the solutions, deliver the solutions. That's more important. Simply to put, if இவங்கிட்ட நான் வந்து as an investor நான் என்ன பண்ணா இவர்கிட்ட நான் இந்த கம்பெனில நான் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணேன்னா whether my money will go fat or will it get me results, அவ்வளவுதான். அந்த கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் எனக்கு கிடைக்கணும். அந்த கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்குன்னா, if your clarity of vision, your thought process is good, then you know you will be able to position your product and solution to the investor well. So pitch பண்ணும்போது என்னன்னா, whether you understand the product, the market, you should have done enough research. சூப்பர்விஷன்ல ஒரு பிபிடி நிறைய வரும், 4 கேள்வி கேட்டாலே ஒண்ணுமே தெரியாது உங்களுக்கு. ஸோ அப்சல்யூட்லி நோ ரிசர்ச், நோ பேக்ரவுண்ட், நோ எஃபோர்ட் புட். ஓகே, ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணா தான் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் பண்ண முடியும். வில் அகைன் கவர் தட் டுமாரோ, ரைட்? பட் அந்த ரிசர்ச், அந்த நாலேஜ் அண்ட் எல்லாத்துலயும் ரிஸ்க் இருக்கு, ரைட்? இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ் they also know not every investment is going to give them returns ங்கிறது அவங்களுக்கும் தெரியும். பட் பார்த்த உடனே இதுல போட்டா ரிஸ்க்னா திரும்பி வர மாட்டோம், இதுல போட்டா போயிடும் போனோம்னா வர மாட்டாங்க, இதுல போட்டா குட் சான்சஸ் தட் ஐ வில் கெட் த மணி, மல்டிப்ளைட் மணி அப்படின்னு இருக்கணும். அப்படி எதிர்பார்க்கறதுலயே so many investments, only few will survive, so will give them good returns. அப்படிங்கிற போது you should be able to convince and say, I understand the space, I understand the market, I understand the need, I know who to talk to customers, I have my team to build it. நாளைக்கு அது பார்க்க போறோம். Some of the aspects we are going to cover tomorrow also. So அந்த convincing ability நீங்க pitch பண்ணி கொடுத்தாதான் as a to the investors, they will believe in you, they will trust. So more the knowledge, more the information, and be upfront and outright, and to a great extent be honest, right? அப்படிங்கிற போது then you will be able to get a fair amount of hearing from the investors. Did I answer your question, Srikanth? Yeah. So let's go with the other questions. Any other questions? Good. Nice. Good. Keep flowing. Excellent. A lot of thought-provoking questions coming up, because you are actually thinking deeper to find out what's happening. And if you are clear, only you will be able to guide, folks in your college, right? And I see many people in third year, final year applying. So it's fantastic that you are having so much of knowledge at a very early age, right? So when I started off my journey, right, 7 years ago, the precise gap was there's nobody to guide. So I felt probably that should be the way to guide startups and small businesses to get to the next step. So that's how the problem was identified and we created it. So you guys have the privilege of having so much of connections, so much of network, and so much of resources available, right? So you are becoming much more smarter very, very early. And only thing is you need to have more clarity to ensure that you are able to understand and communicate to your team. Appada individual colleges we can see many output that can come out. So nice to see that. Good. Any other questions? Okay, I don't know. Some voice was coming up. I don't know. It was cracking. Any other questions? Chat box la podalam. You can do a chat box or you can raise hand, or EDI can actually unmute you and do that. So if you have good clarity on the whole thing, then I think tomorrow's session will be the kind of culmination of all sorts, right? It's like kind of the full flow, 360 degrees we are going to touch upon, and that will be the good culmination, right? Usually BMC la வந்து culminate ஆகும். Now BMC முன்னாடி பண்ணிட்டோம். Now எல்லாமே தெரிஞ்சு போச்சு உங்களுக்கு, multiple pieces, so you will be able to look at a different holistic perspective, how to start a startup, right? Starting a startup, other than we are going to look at. So hopefully we will be able to have even more interesting, the final days session. So otherwise, I have nothing much until Suhas, Daniel, whosoever is there, you can also share in some thoughts and inputs. You're having a mask. Are you sitting with people around, Suhas?
I'm in office, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's better to be safe and sorry.
Yeah. Sure.
So there was a question in the chat box. There's a question from Hari Prasad.
Oh, okay. Sir, if my product is successful and if I start proceeding with the investors, then what is the profit for me and my company? Okay. So first of all, why do you want investors is the question which you have to ask yourself, right? எனக்கு எதுக்கு investors வேணும்? If you need money, then அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? They will value your company and say, okay, இந்த கம்பெனியோட வேல்யூ என்ன? Let's say company value 1 crore. Okay, எவ்வளவு எனக்கு மணி வேணும்? எனக்கு 20 lakhs வேணும் சார். Okay, right. So 20% equity கொடுத்துருங்க கம்பெனியா. So they own 20% of your company. All right. In simple terms, உங்க வீட்ல 3 bedroom இருக்கு. நீங்க ஒரு ரூம் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா, எனக்கு எக்ஸ்ட்ரா பைசா வேணும், எனக்கு கேஷ் இல்ல, ஒருத்தர் உள்ள வாங்க, இந்தாங்க சார் 5000 ரெண்ட் விடுறேங்க மாதிரி, as simple as that. So they're going to be inside your house. So it is no longer owned only by you. They also own part of your house because they are paying for it. So till the time you give the money back with returns that you have assured, அப்பதான் வெளியில போக முடியும். இல்லாட்டி அவங்க உள்ளே தான் இருப்பாங்க, right? So you will use the kitchens, அந்த மாதிரி தான் இருக்கும். So profit அப்படின்ற போது profit is different, right? Profit is basically what revenue you make, how much is the cost and the margin, இல்லையா? gross margin, net margin சொல்லுவோம், எல்லாத்தையும் டாக்ஸ்லாம் எபிடான்னு சொல்லுவோம். I don't want to go deeper, but அதெல்லாம் டாக்ஸ்லாம் கழிச்சிட்டு போக கையில நிக்கும் இல்லையா, some cash will remain. அதுதான் ப்ராஃபிட் உங்க கம்பெனிக்கு. ஸோ கிராஸ் ப்ராஃபிட்னு சொல்லுவோம், நெட் ப்ராஃபிட்னு சொல்லுவோம். கிராஸ்ங்கிறது வந்து ஓவராலா பார்ப்போம், இவ்வளவு வரவு, இவ்வளவு செலவு. தென் ஃபைனலி திஸ் இஸ் தி கிராஸ் ப்ராஃபிட். ஸோ அதுதான் கம்பெனிக்கு வர ப்ராஃபிட். பட் எவ்ரிபடி ஹேஸ் ஸ்டேக் இன் த கம்பெனி. இப்போ நீங்க வந்து 3 ஃபவுண்டர் இருக்கீங்க, இன்வெஸ்டரையும் கொண்டு வந்துட்டீங்கன்னா உங்க 3 ஃபவுண்டருக்கு சேர்த்து 80% இருக்கும். யாருக்கா ஒருத்தருக்கு 40 இருக்கும், ஒருத்தருக்கு 20 இருக்கும், இன்னொருத்தருக்கு 20 இருக்கும், இன்னொரு வர இன்வெஸ்டருக்கு 20 இருக்கலாம், ரைட்? So everybody owns that part of the company. The value of the company is shared by all of you. Profit அப்படிங்கிறது நீங்க வந்து ரெவென்யூ பண்ணி காஸ்ட் மணி காஸ்ட் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்றதை கழிச்சுட்டு வரதுதான் ப்ராஃபிட். ஓகே, ஸோ ரெண்டும் வேற, 2 different things. ஓகே, அண்ட் ப்ராஃபிட் இருந்தாதான் கேஷ் இருக்கும் கம்பெனில, அப்பதான் கம்பெனி ரன் பண்ண முடியும் ஃபர்தரா. வேற சில இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட்ஸ் பண்ணலாம், நீங்க நாளைக்கு salary கொடுக்கணும் கூட எடுக்க வேண்டியிருக்கும். If you have to buy something new for the company, profits பண்ணாதான் you'll be able to do that. So the company should be profitable, but investors will see value. The value should be increasing year on year அப்படிங்கறத பார்ப்பாங்க. At some point in time, investors வந்து மல்டிப்ளை ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் வேற யார்ட்ட கொடுத்துட்டு அவங்களோட ஷேர் எடுத்துட்டு போயிடுவாங்க யூசுவலாவே. Okay, good.
So there was a question from Harini. I think we haven't answered that.
Oh really?
So short termல வந்து business model success ஆயிடுச்சு. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து அது லாங் டர்மாக மாற்ற முடியுமா? லைக் பிஸ்னஸ் மாடல் கேன் இட் பி சேஞ்ச் இன் த மிடில், லைக் சேயிங் தட் ஓகே ஸோ இதுலேருந்து நம்ம பிவட் பண்ணலாம், ஸோ ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் டு லாங் டேர்ம் பிவட் பண்ணலாமா அப்படின்ற மாதிரி கொஸ்டின் இருந்தது.
ஓகே,
இட்ஸ் சாட்டிஸ்ஃபைடட் டு ஹாவ் அ ஹியூஜ் சக்ஸஸ் அஸ் வெல். ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் சக்ஸஸ் ஆயிடுச்சு, லாங் டேர்மும் சக்ஸஸ் ஆகுன்ற ஒரு இதில் வந்து சேஞ்ச் பண்ணுறதுக்கு பண்ணலாமா அப்படின்ற மாதிரி கேட்டிருக்காங்க.
I think we touched upon that. Maybe we can cover some extra insights. ஒன்று வந்து, you build a company not for short term. எந்த இப்போ பிசினஸ் மாடல் பண்றதா இருக்கட்டும் ஆர் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் கிரியேட் பண்றதா இருக்கட்டும், யூ நீட் டு ஹேவ் லாங் டேர்ம் விஷன் அண்ட் லாங் டேர்ம் சஸ்டைனன்ஸ் இருந்தா மட்டும்தான் யூ வில் பி ஏபிள் டு கிரியேட் இட். இன்னைக்கு ஆரம்பிச்சு நாளைக்கு க்ளோஸ் பண்ண மாட்டோம். இட் இஸ் நாட் அ ஃபாஸ்ட் ஃபுட் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் மேஜிக், ரைட்? இன்னைக்கு சாப்பிட்டோம் 2 நிமிஷம் நூக்கி நூடுல்ஸ் சாப்பிட்டு போயிட்டோம்னா இட் வில் ஹேவ் இட்ஸ் ஓன் இம்பாக்ட் உடம்புக்குள்ள, ரைட்? யூ டூ ப்ராப்பர் ஃபுட், ப்ராப்பர் குக் ஃபுட் வித் ப்ரோட்டீன்ஸ் அண்ட் வைட்டமின்ஸ் இருந்தா அதனோட impact is different. So startup is not like that. Most of the companies end up creating with a short vision, short term outlook. அதனால தான் நிறைய கம்பெனி ஃபெயில் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு நீங்க, ரைட்? So when you are looking at I am successful in the short term அப்படின்னா, first of all you should have a bigger vision, and then you have succeeded, let's say in the next 2-3 years, and if you want to take it for the next 5 years 10 years அப்படிங்கிற போது, are you aligned with the market? Okay, whether the market needs you or are you under threat? நீங்க ஒரு fast track ஆயிட்டு இருக்கீங்களா, or are you already becoming like a Uber? Like fast track, if it has become like a Uber in 2010 2012, things would have been very different subsequently, right? They could have gone much longer, right? அப்படிங்கும்போது அந்த alignment to the market specifics is very important. அப்போ பண்ணாதான் you will be able to move it to the long term in terms of sustaining your company for a longer duration, right? So அதனால ஷார்ட் டேர்ம்ல சக்சஸ்ஃபுல் வந்ததுன்னு வச்சுட்டு லாங் டேர்ம் சக்சஸ் cannot be guaranteed. What is there today may not be applicable tomorrow. What is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So build relevancy to the customers. உங்க கஸ்டமருக்கு உங்க ப்ராடக்ட் தேவையா, இன்னைக்கு இருக்கிற தேவை நாளைக்கு இருக்கா இல்லையாங்கிறத you should be keeping the pulse in the marketplace to find out whether you can adapt yourself in the marketplace to take it to the next level for the longer duration. Yes. Nice. Good. Any other questions? Nice to see a lot of brain sparks that is getting triggered, and a lot of questions coming up. நாளைக்கு இன்னும் நீ தூங்கிட்டு வரும்போது நாளைக்கு இன்னும் சில questions வரும் மைண்ட்ல. So நாளைக்கு செஷன் முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் we can have more these things also. So yes, certainly. Yes, Suhas, over to you.
So I think so questions எல்லாம் நாளைக்கு கேரி ஃபார்வர்ட் பண்ணிடுவாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். So okay sir, so today's session was on BMC. Crisp and clear-ஆ வந்து 9 models and the boxes clear-ஆ explain பண்ணிட்டீங்க. We usually take like a day session to do all that.
Yes.
So unless somebody is very well versed in BMC, nobody can do that. So நீங்க அது ரொம்ப ஈஸியாவே பண்ணிட்டீங்க சார், எஃபர்ட்லெஸ்ஸாக இருந்துச்சு. And I hope the students had a very good clarity about it as well. So even if they have any doubts, I think they can reach out to you over email, which is preferred. So students அதை ஒன்று சொல்லிடுறேன். And sir, any activity that we can give them, like can they do the BMC or like வேற ஏதாவது பண்ணலாமா, like எப்படி சார்?
In fact BMC ஒரு activity பண்ணா நல்லது. In fact of course அது review பண்றதுக்கு I don't know what is the system that you may have right now அப்படின்னு தெரியல. But usually வந்து take time to build your BMC. Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you அதுதான் that is actually the proof that you really understood every points. In fact நான் workshop பண்ணும்போது கூட செஷன் முடிச்சிட்டு what I normally do is towards the second half அவங்கள வந்து ஐடியா கொடுத்து பண்ண சொல்லிடுவோம். And I make people present the BMC. இப்போ டீம் பண்ணுவாங்க, நிறைய பேர் இருப்பாங்க, 25 பேர் 30 பேர் போட்டு. ஸோ அதனால ஒரு 5-6 BMCs ஒரு 4 பேரா சேர்ந்து பிரிச்சிடுவோம் டீம்ஸா போட்டு 4 பேர் வந்து ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணணும். ஸோ தே வில் கம் வித் சார்ட், ஒரு பெரிய சார்ட்ல எடுத்து ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. தே கம் சென்டர்ல நின்று ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணுவோம். இன்ஃபேக்ட் இன் மெனி செஷன்ஸ் வி ஹவ் டன் EDAயோட ஸ்மார்ட் கிளாஸ் ரூம் இந்த செகண்ட் ஃப்ளோர் வி ஹவ் டன் இட் குவைட் ஆஃபன், ரைட்? அதுல வந்து people will showcase and we will also tell எங்க மிஸ் பண்ணிருக்கு, எங்க என்ன ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு, ரைட்? பட் BMC cannot be done in a very very short time. ஏன்னா நிறைய ரிசர்ச் பண்ணணும், ஒர்க் பண்ணணும். But if you start to do today, I'm sure over the next few weeks, over the next few days, it looks like you can do it in 1 hour. But அதுக்கு உள்ள போக போக தான் the depth is more important. Surface level நீங்க வந்து 1 hourல கிரியேட் பண்ணிடலாம், not a big deal, டக்கு எழுதிடலாம். பட் 4 கேள்வி கேட்கும் போது tell me what is sizing, என்ன நம்பர் கேட்டா அப்படின்னு மாட்டிடுறோம். அந்த நம்பர் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்கு 1-2 வாரம் ஆகும் அதுக்கு. Okay, each and every block looks so simple, but நீங்க பண்ண ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது it is so beautiful. அப்பதான் உங்களுக்கே clarity கிடைக்கும். In fact, very recently one gentleman who's a good friend, very seasoned guy, he is kind of like a CEO of a company. ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு ஐடியா, ரொம்ப நாளா மாசக்கணக்கா ஒரு ஐடியா பண்ணணும்னு வச்சுட்டு இருக்காரு. He was very passionate. He says I want to do this, எனக்கு நீங்க ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுங்க ஷாமன், கொஞ்சம் ஹெல்ப் பண்ண முடியுமா அப்படின்னு. ஓகே பண்ணி தரேன்ப்பா அப்படின்னு. என்னன்னா I said okay, இதெல்லாம் முடிச்சாச்சு, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் do the BMC சொல்லி கொடுத்தேன். ஒரு 1 hour செஷன் சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்டு இப்படி பண்ணுங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லியாச்சு. 2 weeks later he came back, or 1 week later he came back. நான் பண்ண தான் தெரியுது அது, it's really shaking my confidence. 2 வாரம் சொன்னாரு, precisely I understood இந்த ஐடியா ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆகாது, I am dropping it off அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, right? So இது whether you are straight in college or whether you are 25 plus years experienced in the industry and you can be at a CEO level, it is idu panna than you'll be able to understand the value behind the whole stuff, right? So you will first of all get more convinced. Forget about convincing the investor, namma modala convince aanum, right? Whether it's worth spending our time, energy, money into something else, right? In giving life to something other than the BMC. It's only a starting point, okay? So it will definitely help you guys. அது நீங்க பண்ணலாம் as an initiative. Please பண்ண ஆரம்பிக்கலாம். And during that, முடிச்சிட்டு, if you want to present at some point in time later, pick up a separate time. We can have a separate session online. I'll help you guys to fine tune just in case. Whenever you need any help, come back.
The reason being that is that every speaker is giving them an exercise, sir. So the best submissions from the students, we'll consider that as the best performing ESL for now, and attach them with IIT Madras. So they will share the resources and mentors and development drive. So அதனால வந்து லைக் இன்னைக்கு செஷனுக்கு வந்து the take back home is take back to session will be like, I mean, business plan வந்து ஒரு டென்டேட்டிவா வந்து ஒரு அவங்க யோசிச்ச ஐடியாலயே வந்து ரெடி பண்ணி சப்மிட் பண்ண சொல்லலாமா?
Definitely, sure. Certainly. Yeah. The first cut, first cut you can do it in half a day, in a few hours you can do that.
Sure.
Detailed உள்ள போக போதா it will take days and weeks together. But in the first cut இதுலயே உங்களுக்கு you will get some clarity. நம்ம எங்க இறங்குறோம், ஒரு 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 தண்ணி தொட்டிக்குள்ள இறங்குறோமா, இல்ல ஒரு குளத்துல இறங்குறோமா, இல்ல கிணத்துலயா, இல்ல ஓஷன்லயாங்கிறது தெரிஞ்சிடும். Okay, so this will give you a depth.
So என்னன்னா ஒரு சின்ன கூகுள் ஃபார்ம் மாதிரி ஒன்று கிரியேட் பண்ணிடுறோம் சார் ஃபார் திஸ் ரிகார்ட், ஸோ தட் ஐ வில் ஷேர் இட் வித் த பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் ஐ திங்க் தே கேன் டூ தட் அஸ் வெல். ஸோ ஐ ஆல்சோ ஷேர் த ஃபீட்பேக் ஃபார்ம் வித் தம். ஸோ அந்த செஷனில் வந்து ஃபீட்பேக் வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் நான் உங்களுக்கு அதை ஷேர் பண்ணிடுறேன். அண்ட் லெட்ஸ் மீட் ஃபார் டுமாரோ செஷன் சார். ஸோ தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
Definitely. So thank you, Suhas, EDI, Daniel, and everybody else, and all of you guys. Such energetic minds and brains and future. You are the future, right? You are going to build so many futures, in your respective colleges and even outside. Adukaprom velila ponadukku appuram, I'm sure you'll be doing a lot more support and things. And many of you, I'm sure, might turn to entrepreneurship, if not today, sometime in the near future or as we move forward. So, in the fundamentals will definitely help you. So, I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. நாளைக்கு இதே நேரம் இதே இடத்தில் சந்திக்கலாம், ரைட்? 6:30 நாளைக்கு we are meeting
6:30 to same.
So sharp we will meet at 6:30. So how to start a startup? So எல்லா கல்வினேஷன் மாதிரி will connect all the dots. இது ஒரு பெரிய பாக்ஸ், இந்த மாதிரி multiple dots இருக்கு. So we'll look at connecting the dots and then have another round of discussion, Q&A. So அது summary மாதிரி இருக்கும் கம்ப்ளீட்டா. So that will be the nice way to culminate the whole session. All right. So fantastic. Thank you guys for all your appreciations and support. Wonderful. And take care. Be safe. Till then, we'll see you tomorrow then. All right. Thanks for patiently listening and being part on an evening. All right. And in advance, the two for a Saturday tomorrow. All right. Guys, take care. See you then.
See you, sir.
Good night. Bye, Suhas. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Participants